Akane Nishino is a famous actress, good student and friendly with her classmates. However, this is a fake persona she created after an incident when a fan kidnapped and molested her. Inside she is angry, bitter and despises everyone, in particular classmate Minoru Kajino who barely acknowledges her existence. Kajino is shown to carry weights in his bag and clothing to increase his strength. Nishino is kidnapped by criminals who intend to ransom her. They are interrupted by Kajino disguised as a masked vigilante calling himself Stylish Ruffian Slayer. But when they see Slayer uses dual crowbars they realize he is actually a dangerous brawler who can defeat gangs by himself. Known as Balaclava Berserker, Slayer defeats both men and frees Nishino. Nishino suspects Kajino but a few days later Kajino is abruptly hit by a truck and dies. Through flashback Kajino explains his entire life he wanted to become a secret mastermind controlling society from the shadows to protect the innocent, to be like the fictional heroes he's looked up to his entire life, and relentlessly trained in martial arts hoping to one day be as powerful as a nuclear bomb. In death Kajino laments at how no matter how hard he trained or how much he tried, in the end he could never realistically achieve that level of power as the laws of physics made him just an ordinary human no matter what he did. Now in the present Kajino reincarnates in an alternate world with magical powers where he still hopes to achieve his dream of controlling society, as the Eminence in Shadow. Kagenu is reborn in an alternate world as Sid Kagenu, son of minor nobles Baron and Lady Kagenu and older sister Claire. In keeping with his previous life, Sid trains in secret and resumes his vigilante lifestyle by killing bandits. Sid discovers a living blob of rotting flesh and succeeds in curing the curse afflicting it, returning it to its true form, an elven girl. To amuse himself, Sid, in character as Eminence in Shadow, convinces the girl she is a descendant of ancient heroes who defeated a demon called Diablos, but a cult is seeking to resurrect Diablos. Believing his lies, the girl agrees to form a group called Shadow Garden to resist the cult. Sid gives her the name Alpha but secretly is amused Alpha believed his made-up story. 3 years later Claire is abruptly kidnapped. Alpha, who has now recruited 6 girls as the Shadow 7, locates Claire and confirms she was kidnapped by the cult of Diablos. Sid is convinced the girls are merely role-playing with him, completely unaware the cult actually exists, and intends Claire to be Diablo's host body when he resurrects. Sid leads the attack under the impression he is hunting normal bandits, and most cultists are killed. Claire escapes during the chaos and, with no idea Sid was involved, later leaves to attend Midgar Academy as planned. Sid, still completely ignorant of what really happened, is surprised when Alpha and the other shadows abruptly announce they are leaving. The Shadow 7 separate to hunt the cult all over the world. Sid believes they simply grew up and grew bored of his game. He enrolls in the same academy as Claire where he deliberately avoids standing out, even choosing 2 average boys, Skell and Poe, as friends. As a forfeit for doing badly on a test, Sid is forced to confess love to Princess Alexia and be publicly humiliated. Sid plays along in his role as a typical background character, but is shocked when Alexia agrees to be his girlfriend. Alexia invites Sid to her fencing class where he discovers Alexia is engaged to royal fencing instructor Zenon, but has no desire to marry him. Fully aware he is being used and Alexia is secretly spiteful and selfish, Sid agrees to continue their fake relationship in exchange for money. After 2 weeks Alexia admits that despite the effort she puts into sword training she is not as skilled as her sister, Iris, thus she was nicknamed Fencer Ordinaire. Sid admits he actually likes her sword style, which focuses on mastery of the basics. Alexia becomes angry and ends their fake relationship. The next day Zenon reveals Alexia has disappeared and has Sid arrested as a suspect in her kidnapping. In a cell next to a mutated human girl, Alexia has her blood stolen by a cult scientist who claims it contains demon DNA. Sid is tortured by knights for Alexia's location, but having trained himself to withstand pain he pretends to be a pathetic but innocent NPC, thinking it makes him look cool. After 5 days, Princess Iris orders Sid released. Alpha reappears to Sid with news that they have continued to monitor the cult while increasing Shadow Garden's influence. Sid is impressed Alpha and her fellow shadows still occasionally visit to carry on their role-playing game with him, unaware Shadow Garden really has become a powerful organization. Alpha plans to rescue Alexia with 114 loyal soldiers. Sid plays along to amuse himself as he knows Alexia really has been kidnapped, but mistakenly believes it was corrupt knights and the 114 soldiers are just background actors Alpha hired. In a massive attack, Sid murders the knights who tortured him while his army searches for Alexia. The scientist desperately injects Alexia's blood into the mutant girl who becomes a demon, kills the scientist, then frees Alexia. Alexia runs into Zenon who reveals he gave her to the cult so they would arrange for him to be promoted to a high-ranking knight. Alexia attacks but Zenon easily defeats her. Sid suddenly appears. Zenon identifies Sid as the one behind recent attacks on the cult and announces himself as one of the cult's core members. The demon girl rampages through the city and fights Iris. Alpha reveals herself to Iris as a member of Shadow Garden, defeats the demon, then vanishes. Sid dominates Zenon in a duel. Alexia, who has no idea he is Sid under his disguise, is captivated by his sword style, which expresses the heart of the style she has searched for her entire life. Zenon swallows pills that turn him demonic. But, using the principles of a nuclear explosion, Sid sets off a magic bomb that dissolves everything in the blast radius to atoms, killing Zenon and destroying most of the evacuated city. Alexia reunites with Iris, freshly determined to master her chosen sword style. Alexia, having remembered that Sid likes her sword style, offers to be his real girlfriend now Zenon is dead, but when he abruptly rejects her, she punishes him violently. Alpha returns to investigating a group that has been masquerading as Shadow Garden while committing crimes. Iris orders a full kingdom investigation into the cult of Diablos and Shadow Garden. Sid meets a girl with pink hair. The false Shadow Garden begins committing murders. A cult relic is recovered, so Iris gives it to the pink-haired student, Sherry, the kingdom's most brilliant researcher. Sid's friends Poe and Skell take him to a new department store where it is revealed Sid's subordinate Gamma opened the store to fund Shadow Garden, with branches in every city in the world. Sid is impressed but once again is convinced Gamma is role-playing, unaware he now owns dozens of stores, making him one of the wealthiest men in the world. He also meets Nu, the newest Shadow. On his way home, Sid spots Alexia fighting several murderers, so he saves Alexia, slaughters the murderers, and hands one survivor to Nu for interrogation. Elsewhere, the murderer's boss, Gaunt Knight, confirms they located the relic. Alexia confirms Shadow Garden is not the real murderers, though Iris still insists they are enemies of the kingdom. Using chocolate from Sid's store, Skell confesses to a girl but is punished by her fiancé. Poe also confesses to a girl but is arrested as a stalker. Sid decides to just give the remaining chocolate to anyone, which by chance is Sherry. Her adoptive father, Vice Principal Ruslan, informs the naive Sherry the chocolates were probably meant as a love confession and to decide on her answer quickly to not keep Sid waiting. Nu informs Sid the murderer she interrogated was a typical cult foot soldier, orphans brainwashed with drugs and magic. One such soldier, Rex, is in the city on a cult mission. Sid is preoccupied as Skell and Poe have entered him in the Academy's sword tournament to impress girls. Nu mistakenly thinks Sid rambling about the festival is him plotting to deal with Rex. At the festival, Sid duels student president Princess Rose and, while still role-playing as a secret hero keeping his skills hidden, feigns injury repeatedly. The referee eventually declares Rose victor, but she is impressed at Sid's fighting spirit. Sherry asks Sid to be friends before they consider dating, though Sid has completely forgotten who Sherry is and decides to just avoid her. Sherry asks Alexia about her relationship with Sid and is happy when Alexia reveals their relationship was fake, though Alexia is privately upset another girl is interested in Sid. An election is announced to fill an empty student council seat. Gaunt Knight erects an anti-magic barrier, allowing the fake Shadow Garden to capture the academy. Rose attempts to fight, but without her magic she is almost killed and Sid is hurt, recklessly rushing to protect her. Sid had been excited at the chance to look cool fighting terrorists, and saved Rose to appear heroic. Rose mistakenly thinks Sid sacrificed himself because he loves her. The students are taken to the auditorium and Sid secretly heals himself. Rex attacks Sherry to retrieve the relic, but Iris Crimson Knights help her escape. Sid begins killing terrorists and saves Sherry. Sherry identifies the relic generating the barrier, the Eye of Avarice, which absorbs magic and explodes once full. Sid deduces the cult are using the eye to kill the students and prevent them becoming knights. The relic Sherry has been researching is the eye's control unit, and she hopes it can stop the explosion. Needing tools from her room, Sid volunteers to get them. Rex warns Gaunt Knight someone is killing their men and Gaunt Knight suspects it is the real Shadow Garden. It is revealed Gaunt Knight's true goal is to be reinstated to the Knights of Round. Sid kills Rex. Nu sees the sole surviving Crimson Knight is Marco, her former fiancé, and is tempted to kill him. Sid delays Nu and her fellow Shadows from attacking the terrorists, until Sherry has the control relic ready. Nu decides to let Marco live. Sherry activates the control relic, deactivating the eye and its barrier. Sid arrives disguised as Eminence and his army of shadows begins slaughtering the terrorists. Iris is enraged that it appears Shadow Garden is responsible for the attack. Sid finds Gaunt Knight burning Sherry's research and reveals he is Ruslan, Sherry's adoptive father. Ruslan explains he was once a master swordsman, until an illness weakened him. Believing the eye might cure him, he cultivated a relationship with the woman studying it, Sherry's mother. When she grew too afraid to continue her research, Ruslan killed her, and adopted Sherry as a pawn to complete the research he needed. Ruslan combines the eye with the control relic and regains his lost sword skills. Sid is still the better swordsman, so Ruslan brags he has framed Shadow Garden for all his crimes. Unconcerned, Sid kills Ruslan, witnessed by Sherry. The kingdom designates Shadow Garden as a terrorist organization. Sherry informs Sid she will miss him, but with Ruslan dead she has decided to transfer to a scientific research academy, to pursue her new goal. Sid asks what her new goal is. She insists it is secret, but her dark aura suggests her new goal is sinister.